Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago, St. Bernard's Hospital in 1957.
Describe your former job since you're retired now.
You want all my jobs or just my former
Or
job?
just your most recent one.
Most recent I was the student assistance coordinator and social worker at HF High School. What that meant is I coordinated the prevention, intervention, aftercare, and support of students who may have alcohol and drug problems and other issues related to that. I actually did both roles. For the first 16 years, I worked as in all three districts. I worked for District 153, 161, and 233, and did mostly just prevention stuff and programs like snowball, snowflaking, peer helpers, and that kind of stuff. Rachel's Challenge, and then I went back to school, got my master's in social work, and then I became a school social worker as well.
So where did you move to? Because you moved recently.
Well, we wish we officially moved, but we haven't moved. We're looking at living on the East Coast in a little seaport called Tuckerton, or a little egg harbor. They interchange the names. My father-in-law lives out there, my brother-in-law, and we were going to move in with them, take care of them a little bit, and just spend some time with my wife's side of the family that we haven't had a lot of time to spend. We just happened to be there during Hurricane Sandy and ended up in a shelter and then working for a couple of weeks with Red Cross, which is something you'd never think you'd be doing, and then you're doing it. And that's how we got to meet a lot of the people there. And so with those people in that community, they got to know us a little bit too, which if the storm didn't happen, we probably would have met some of these people. A lot of people that have that chain reaction of kindness, they really believe in that stuff. Actually, there's a place that we're hoping opens soon, which is, it's called Chain Reaction of Kindness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going, oh, this is too weird, you know. And the school that we were in, the shelter we were in, was also Rachel's Challenge School. I was like, okay, this is getting really weird. So, I mean, there's a lot of connectiveness between the two right now, and so that's good. I mean, we miss people here. I miss being with the students here and things like that. And that part, that's the hardest part, but it's a great opportunity for us, and it's something different. People can come visit us. There's a big house, so it's like, hey, beachfront property. Hey, come on out.
Have you had any significant issues throughout your life?
Wow, there's a great question. Some people would say, well, I always have issues. I think there's been always a lot of choices in my life. Most people don't know I made a decision to go into the seminary after 8th grade. So I was freshman in high school when I left my house and moved to Michigan for 4 years. In a boarding school. I would come home on holidays and things like that, but most young people don't make that decision that early. I think the biggest decision I ever made was when I left the seminary. I was studying to be a priest, and I was a year for ordination, and I came out and decided this was not what I wanted to do anymore. It's kind of funny. I laugh about it because I always say I learned more about poverty, more about chastity, and more about obedience once I left than when I was in. And it's just like, because I was kind of sheltered a lot. People took care of us. And when you leave, it's like everything goes with you, even your school loans. Oh, here's your loan. It's like, oh, thanks, So I think those were the biggest decision makings. And after that, it hasn't really been hard making decisions. I really believe that in fate and in calling, and you're guided where you're supposed to be guided to. It may not always be on my timeline, but it's where it's supposed to be.
They also have, when did you meet your wife?
There's another interesting question. I was at a conference. I was in the seminary. I went to a conference at Rutgers University. It was a 3-week course on, it's called the Alcohol and Drug Institute. And she happened to be there, and she lived in Connecticut. And we met there. And then she came and visited me over the summer after we got back, when I was in the seminary still, and then we kept in communication. Then I left the order, and then I would travel, or she would travel, every month I would go from Chicago to Connecticut, or she would come from Connecticut to Chicago for 2 years. And I proposed to her the only time I've ever been in this airport, in Newark Airport. And I did it in a cafeteria that I thought was vacated. And I knelt down, and when I was about to propose to her, the waitress came over and asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee. And all I said to her was, I don't think it's a good time. And I actually had put it on the PA system with future Mrs. Schwaller, please see me. And she didn't hear it. So it was one of those things, but in the end it worked out perfect. So we've been married 28 years now, so it's been perfect.
Is there anything else you would like to share?
We really don't realize how a little kindness can really change a person's life totally. Or just a little nudge to let them know that, hey, you know what, you're okay, you're doing fine. I think we all need that. So I think with our youth is allowing them to know that they can change people's lives for the good. Holding the door, doing something, it sounds so stupid, but it's so simple. Smiling at somebody, you know, ask them how their day's going. Sometimes just being there and listening. It doesn't take much. It's nothing like it takes money. All it takes is heart and time. And my thing is, I think we have a lot of time.
I really admire Mr. Schwaller's dedication and the fact that he just knows what he wants. He's a very nice person and definitely someone to look up to. He's been a family friend of ours for a very long time, and shedding some light on what he's gone through and what he's done in his life is really interesting to me, and I'm glad I interviewed him. I've never really considered Mr. Schwaller to be necessarily ordinary, but I just really wanted to know more about his past and just things I didn't know before, and he really is extraordinary. Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome. Anytime. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Mr. Rose is going, oh, Schwaller F. Oh, God. We didn't want him interviewed.